Somewhere on the banks of a South American river, a capybara is being born into what looks, on the surface, like a pretty good deal. The climate is warm, food is abundant, the species is wildly successful. An estimated tens of millions of them live across South America. They are, by nearly every ecological measure, thriving. Which raises an obvious question. If capybaras are so successful, why does being one involve quite so much dying? Hi, I'm Mara, and this is Microplanet. The answer is that capybara success is a population-level story, not an individual-level one. The species survives because individual capybaras die in enormous numbers, constantly, and are replaced fast enough to keep the whole system running. Being a capybara is, in a very real sense, the experience of being a biological buffer, something the ecosystem consumes regularly and relies on completely. The first problem is that everything wants to eat you. Capybaras are the largest rodents on Earth, which sounds impressive until you realize what it means in practice. They are the largest easily catchable prey animal across most of their range. Jaguars hunt them, anacondas constrict them, caimans ambush them at the water's edge, pumas stalk them at night, ocelots take juveniles, harpy eagles take pups. There is almost no apex or mid-level predator in South American ecosystems that doesn't include capybara on its menu. They are, in ecological terms, a keystone prey species, which is a polite way of saying the food chain depends on there being enough of them to go around, and the food chain generally gets what it needs. The second problem is that being social doesn't save you, it just changes how you get eaten. Capybaras live in groups of 10 to 30 individuals, sometimes larger. This provides some benefits: more eyes scanning for predators, alarm calls that warn the group, and the simple mathematics of dilution. Any individual's odds of being the one selected by a predator decrease when the group is larger. But capybara groups also make them findable. A solitary animal is harder to locate than a group that vocalizes constantly, leaves obvious trails to the river, and returns to the same water sources every day. And when a predator does find the group, the chaos of a large group fleeing in multiple directions means individual capybaras often make predictable, panicked decisions that predators have evolved to exploit. The group helps, it is not enough. The third problem starts at birth. Capybara pups are born relatively precocially. They can walk within hours and begin grazing within days, which sounds advantageous. But capybara mothers give birth in the open, without a den or burrow to shelter the young. The pups are mobile but small, and for the first several weeks of life, they are the preferred target of every predator in the area. Juvenile mortality rates in capybara populations run extremely high. Estimates suggest that in areas with intact predator communities, more than half of all pups born in a year don't survive their first few months. The species compensates by breeding prolifically. Females can produce 2 litters per year with up to 8 pups each. But that compensation exists precisely because the loss rate is so catastrophic. The fourth problem is that even the water isn't safe. Capybaras are semi-aquatic. They're excellent swimmers. They regulate their temperature by wallowing, and they escape many terrestrial predators by fleeing into rivers and lakes. But South American waterways are full of caimans and anacondas, which means the water that saves them from jaguars is simultaneously the hunting ground of animals that specialize in ambushing large mammals at the water's edge. There is no safe zone. Every habitat capybaras use is also the preferred hunting territory of something that eats them. There is also a fifth problem that doesn't involve predators at all: parasites. Capybaras host an extraordinary diversity of ticks, and those ticks host an extraordinary diversity of pathogens. They carry more tick species than almost any other South American mammal, partly because of their semi-aquatic lifestyle, partly because of their gregarious social behavior, and partly because they are large enough to support large tick loads without dying immediately. The ticks make them vectors for diseases that affect other animals, including humans. The capybara's body is, in addition to everything else, a traveling ecosystem for parasites. Put all of this together, and the life of a capybara is less a story of thriving and more a story of processing. They convert grass and aquatic plants into protein that feeds jaguars, anacondas, caimans, eagles, and ticks efficiently, continuously, and in large volumes. They are very good at this. The species is genuinely successful because individual capybaras are individually expendable in a way that most large mammals are not. Which brings us back to that pup on the riverbank. It will probably not survive its first year, but somewhere nearby, its mother is already pregnant again.